At that point, we had 13 minutes left on the air. And it was time for the segment that we've all been waiting for, the Bloodline, to get in the ring. And now it's the rules of engagement. And as you will recall last week, Paul Heyman, I believe he was the one that said, you know how this goes, Jay. It was handed down by your father, from his father, from his father, from his father before him. They've been handed down from generation to generation to generation, the traditions of the Canaanites and all that other stuff, right? Well, now they come out and they got a big crowd in Orlando. They said 14,000 people. I would assume it was close. And I mean, for Grayson Waller, they will set the fucking ring up like a dentist's office with fake potted ferns and all this tripe. But for the rules of engagement for the tribal chief against the budding tribal chief, they have a marble desk and 2 leather desk chairs. Did the Samoans have a marble desk and 2 leather desk chairs when they would sit down over the campfire or the poo-poo platter or the goddamn pig in the ground or whatever it was and do this after they blew the big shells that went woo and brought all the tribes people? And what the fuck was going on here? It looked like a goddamn mediator's office at a fucking insurance firm.
I'll just say this before you go further with your review. This was the first Bloodline segment in a while, especially featuring Roman, all the key players, that I thought was a miss. For me, I didn't like
Swing and
it.
a miss.
Yeah.
So this would have been the place for, I know Afa and Sika are, somewhat older and may not be able to travel. Although they're Rikishi, some of the elders, some official looking somebody, fucking, King Curtis's kid, anybody. But so they sit down, Roman and Jay, and Solo and Paul are standing, and Roman says, do you still want to do this? Hey, I got to get you. No, you won't get me because you don't get it. You're just a soldier. You're just a pawn. So Roman signs the contract and hands it over to Jay, and Jay pulls the contract up and tears it up. And the people think, well, is he reconsidering? But then he says, I don't need no contract. The contract is in our blood. This is tribal combat now. And Roman's like, do the elders know? It was their idea. And somehow we find out that tribal combat is anything goes, no disqualification. I swear to God, I'm not making this. They couldn't even fucking do, okay, we're going to be attached with a fucking leather thong, left wrist to left wrist, and our right hand, we've got a fucking tiki torch? Tribal combat is no DQ? And the examples that Jay starts giving are, I can hit you with a chair. Do they have chairs in the middle of the fighting pit set aside on the island for the elders? I can take that lady's shoe off and hit you with it. Now he's doing comedy. Oh, is this going to be a match with a giant mousetrap? So then Roman tells everybody to shut up, which was a good idea. Probably the best thing could have been said at that point. And he says he runs the business, so he puts the belt down and said, boom, stands up and says, let's go. And Jay says it's tribal combat. So Roman takes off the lei, his tribal chief lei, and puts it on the belt. And now here's at this point, I just said the backstage silent interview was good because that was a close-up with a camera where you were seeing people's expressions, and it wasn't in a 14,000-seat arena. The people in the building were not picking up, Brian, do you agree, on all these subtle Samoan traditions that they were referring to? And it sounded more like everybody was going, what the fuck is happening here?
Again, maybe it's because it was on FS1. They didn't give us something truly special. Maybe they thought this was something as part of the overall story. To me, again, this just didn't do it.
I think they thought this was special.
This did not, for me, this didn't do it. And I've said it before, and they've gotten around it, like, it could get stale quick if they don't do something. If, like, someone doesn't make a move or do something, this could get stale. And they've always been on top of that. Minor things, big crowd reactions. This, you keep saying a swing and a miss. This was swing and a miss to me.
Well, now, but wait a minute. The best part was coming up next, because I just said the people weren't actually getting the Samoan traditions. I swear to God. At that point, Roman and Jay got face to face with each other, and then they did a soul brother type handshake. And then they leaned over and touched foreheads and looked at each other's eyes. I swear to God, I wrote, but they didn't hop on one foot first. That was a legend. I guess that's the stance they get into before they have the tribal combat, when they shake hands and touch foreheads. And then Roman turns to leave. And suddenly Solo just says, well, fuck this. And he flips the desk over and grabs Jay and starts to spike him, and Roman hooks the spike and stops him. And while he does that, Jay slips out and super kicks Solo, and Roman stands there shocked and then steps out. And that was that. So I'm just thinking that maybe they should have passed out a handbill when the people filed in. Here are the rules of tribal combat. They will tear up the contract that they've just signed at the fancy signing table, and then they will stand up, shake hands, touch foreheads, jump down, turn around, pick a bale of cotton, and burn a chicken's beak under a half moon, and then the curse will be lifted. I don't know what the fuck was going on here. All righty.
And again, I'm sick of guys in the ring who hate each other and they could just stand there and talk to each other or yell at each other. Like, too much of that with the Bloodline. It gets to the point where it's physical, and then we go right back to everyone sitting in the room and staring at each other.
It was a little disappointing, but you know what's not disappointing? You know what's exciting, Brian? You know what? Every time that this thing happens, that this event takes place, it fills your heart with joy and your house with awesomeness. You know what that is?
What's that?
That is every month when the package gets dropped off at your door and you see that it is your box of awesome from Bespoke Post. That's when that's the culmination, the high point, the pinnacle, if you will, of your month, because it is never a bait and switch. You don't think you're going to get a good bloodline and then you get a bad bloodline. Because the box of awesome every month, it lives up to its billing, because it's not a box of bleh. It's a box of awesome. And you go, awesome. I have awesomeness now. Do you know what I just got in my box of awesome?
What did you get?
I got a complete mint julep set, silver julep cups, and the little beater stirrer thingy, and the goddamn straws that go away. You know, juleps are big, Brian, in Kentucky, the mint julep, but you can make any drink in the mint julep cup, and it looks like you're a millionaire because it's silver and has silver straws and is just beautiful. It's awesome. And I know that you just got your do-it-yourself pizza kit.
Yeah, they sent me a bunch of things so I could actually plant the basil myself. I could plant the cherry tomatoes myself. I could make all the ingredients myself. Suzanne actually gets Box of Awesome too from Bespoke Post, and she got a knife that's really awesome that I'm going to steal.
And that way you'll be able to cut your pizza with it.
Well, it's not a pizza knife, but it's just a knife.
It's a knife that would be sharp enough to cut a pizza, right?
Right, but you don't want to just take a knife.
When you've got a pizza that needs to be cut, you'll cut it with it. I've cut pizzas with goddamn all kinds of things. Box cutters. And fucking pieces of cardboard kind of shaved out. You know, sometimes you're in a hotel late at night, you got to improvise. They forgot to cut the fucking pizza. You got a box there. What I'd do is I'd tear off one of the fucking ends of the box and I'd kind of gnaw into that goddamn pizza with cardboard if I didn't have anything else.
Who forgets to cut the pizza when they send it out?
Apparently Domino's late at night in the 80s. But nevertheless, you'd be surprised what ingenuity can do for you when you're stuck in a hotel room and need implements. But if you get a box of Awesome, they got boxes of Awesome, as you mentioned, with knives in them. And that way you'll always be able to cut your pizza. They got multiple boxes of Awesome with knives, steel knives, and knives by Bare Bones based in Salt Lake City. I don't know what they make them out of, but they're nice. And you got the gut hook knife made by Titan International from Illinois, because everything in the box of Awesome comes from small and or medium-sized independent retailers and craftsmen and people that it's not big box store stuff. This is fine quality craftsmanship. You're supporting good, wholesome Americans that put seeds in the ground and water it and let the sun bring the things to the surface, and then you can make your pizza out of it. And the sausage making machine that they sent you in your do-it-yourself pizza kit.
They didn't send me a
sausage making machine.
They didn't send me a sausage making machine.
Well, how are you going to make the sausage for your pizza?
I'm not going to have sausage on my pizza because I actually like pizza. I'm actually someone who likes pizza, not one of these phonies like from Kentucky who don't know anything about pizza and eat it with cardboard late at night because wherever he gets it from, they don't even cut the pizza.
How many pigs did they send you with your pizza kit? They sent me 3. God damn, I hope this other stuff grows quick because these pigs are eating me out of house and home.
I guess the point is, with the things they sent me, I can make a pizza with natural ingredients that'll be healthier and better than whatever crap you got in the hotel late at night in the 80s. And I'll have a very, very sharp blade to slice it however I wish.
Yeah, see, give a man Domino's number and he can eat for a night, but give a man the stuff to grow a pizza from scratch and he can eat forever until the pigs run out. But folks, they've got all kinds of camping gear essentials, cookout must-haves, cooking implements, drinking game upgrades. They've got collections for every part of your life, and all you have to do is go to boxofawesome.com. That's where it starts. It all starts there. And take the quiz, and then your answers help them determine the right boxes of awesomeness for you, tailored to your preferences and likes. They release new boxes every month, ton of different categories, and each box is valued at around $70, but you pay a fraction of that price. You know what a fraction is, Brian? That's a much lesser ingredient in the overall total.
Well, unless the fraction is close to 5 stars and then it rounds up.
Well, no, we're not. If it's within a quarter of a fraction, we're not disagreeing. Plus, with each box of Awesome, you're supporting those small businesses. 90% of everything that comes in your box of Awesome is from a small up-and-coming brand that works out of a storefront in Poughkeepsie and only has a post office box. But they do good work. It's free to sign up with Box of Awesome, and you can skip a month or cancel anytime right now. If you go to boxofawesome.com, you can get 20% off your first month's box if you enter the code JCE at checkout. Boxofawesome.com. 20% off your first box with the code of JCE. And by the way, awesome is spelled AWESOME. We had a couple of people write in and say, well, I wrote awesome, AWSOM.
Oh, come on. No one wrote that.
I swear.
Was it The Miz?
It was The Miz. You caught it. But anyway, boxofawesome.com, code JCE, 20% off your first. If you only get into one box a month, this is the box you need to get into.
That's right. Let's see who can grow a pizza faster, me or you.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, in that case, if they didn't send you the sausage maker, then to be fair, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to tell my pigs to stay tuned, and I'm going to drop the sausage maker, and just let me know when they send you your pepperoni filler.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I ever was going to add an ingredient to my pizza, I think I'd go with pepperoni before sausage.
Oh, come on.
Hold on,
pepperoni's the meat you get when you can't have sausage.
Pepperoni's like number 2 after I think it's like out of a regular cheese slice or pepperoni. I would think that's the number 2 most popular selection in the world.
Well, but you got to eat a lot of pepperoni to fucking weigh yourself down as heavy as you do when you eat a good fucking hunk of sausage.
What do you think of chicken on pizza? I see a lot of places now have chicken Parmesan pizza.
Yes. Oh, well, now let me tell you something. I'm not for the barbecue chicken because I don't feel that barbecue and pizza should cross paths.
I
but
agree.
chicken bacon ranch pizza with a white sauce or a ranch sauce is like an Alfredo type of thing or a ranch sauce. Chicken and bacon, green peppers, mushrooms. Your tongue will slap your brains out.
Well, I'll let you know how this goes, but once again, Box of Awesome from Bespoke Post. They support this show. Support them. And I'm going to support you. This is your show.
Well, they'll jack you up later. But right now, yes, the Box of Awesome you got to support. And also, what are we supporting over there on the Arcadian Vanguard Network this week?
Another fine week of programming on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. Get information about all the shows on Twitter at Superpodcast or on Facebook at facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard. Of course, get the wrestling news, get your wrestling news each and every day delivered right to you. Get it directly from thewrestlingnews.com or wherever you find your favorite podcast. Look for Arcadian Vanguard's The Wrestling News for your free daily morning wrestling newscast with no opinion, no conjecture, just the actual wrestling news. Once again, Arcadian Vanguard's The Wrestling News or thewrestlingnews.com. Want to make mention this week, Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam, a look at 35 years ago, Great American Bash 1988. Some of the things you'll hear discussed include, was the Maryland State Athletic Commission in on the finish of the main event? Was the Tower of Doom the most overcomplication in wrestling history? Ronnie Garvin's clumsy and senseless heel turn. Should this have been Lex Luger's coronation? And Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard blossoming into an all-time great tag team. Great American Bash 88.
Wait a minute. What about the Midnight Express and the Fantastics with yours truly up in the cage above the ring?
That's not listed here in the format, so I can't comment on that.
Son of a bitch.
Well, find out if that man in the cage above the ring is mentioned. Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam at McAdamPod.com or look for Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, the 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership! And does Colin Thompson owe you money? But go through the archives today at 605pod.com, available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. The 605 Super Podcast, The Mothership.
I won't ask you to spoil it, but tell me off the air whether they come to the conclusion that the commission was in on it or was not in on it, and I'll tell you whether they were right or not.
Bash 88, do you see that as a positive event or as a... It could have been better? There's so many weird things on that show.
It was the first full coverage pay-per-view that Turner Broadcasting helped out with the cable systems to get Crockett coverage. So financially, it was the first good one that they had done. And people watched it, but, there were some great performances. But up and down the card, there were also some things that maybe didn't get over too good. But coming out of that, the Luger and Flair rematches actually did draw money at the house shows. And even, I mentioned the Midnight and Fantastics match. That was it wasn't as good of a blow off as it could have been because the babyfaces couldn't win because Dusty was sending us to Tully and Arn after for the World Tag title in the heel tag dream match. So they beat us in the regular house show matches in the Bash. They beat us every night because it was 3-on-2 bunkhouse matches and they could beat me. But Dusty wanted to make sure that the Midnight got a win on the broadcast event where it counted. So I dropped the chain out of the cage I was in a straitjacket. I couldn't even drop it. But nevertheless, the Midnight fucked the Fantastics and beat them in the match. And then when they got me out of the cage, the Fantastics got to whip me to kind of get some revenge. But the Midnight had to win there because we were headed toward Tully and Arn for the World Tag title after the Bash was over.
If Tully and Arn didn't leave, do you think you get all the way to Starrcade with them?
Oh, God, yes. It would have gone longer than that. The fucking... Again, the double main event of Flair and Luger for the world title and Tully and Arn against the Midnight for the tag title was drawing bigger houses in the September house shows than the Bash did in July and first part of August, which had never happened before. And we had just really started it when they left. So it would have gone past Starrcade. It would have been, I mean, that would have been a big landmark match of some kind in the program, but it would have been going for a while because it wouldn't have gotten old with those four guys in the ring. The matches wouldn't have gotten old. And I think me and JJ could have probably figured out a few things to talk about for 3 or 4 months. So, yeah.
Hey, one last thing on this, Jim. What do you think of Ron Garvin turning heel on Dusty there? And of course, Ronnie would leave the NWA right after that, briefly in the AWA, and then go to the WWF. But what did you think of the idea of him turning on Dusty?
Well, I don't know really what was planned, because it obviously didn't come off. The turn, it wasn't a big deal in itself. It wasn't a major angle. That's why probably most people don't remember it. And, you know, and it never went anywhere because he left. But I don't know what Dusty had planned. Ronnie Garvin in his day was a very good heel. Don't know whether it would work there or not. And I don't know, maybe it's just because Dusty wanted to work with Ronnie, since, you know, Flair was going to be tied up with Luger and, you know, trying to just use another name that he had on the roster to do something with. But I don't know what they were going to do. But I don't know if many people were. I think of the two, when they found out that they weren't going to get Tully and Arn versus the Midnight, they probably were more upset about that than they weren't going to get Dusty and Ronnie Garvin.
All right, well, that was Bash 88. Hear it on Stick to Wrestling with John McAdam this week.
And that was your dissertation on those other podcasts.